Aloha, it's Dave Lawrence. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I really do, and I appreciate you joining us today. We have a very special guest on the line ahead of an appearance at the Hawaii Theater October 13th, Beacon Theater, live from New York, and Driving Towards Daylight. His latest release is also part of the supergroup of Black Country Communion, which we'll hear about, Glenn Hughes, Jason Bonham, and others. His hard work, his devotion to his craft have earned him a fat resume. It includes some choice names: B.B. King, Eric Clapton, Paul Rogers. You don't get to do that unless you really have worked hard, and he has. You may also recall his first project, Bloodline, featured children of some legendary folks. Maybe he'll tell us some stories if we're really lucky. It is a great pleasure and honor to welcome Joe Bonamassa. Aloha, mahalo, Joe. Thanks for doing this, dude.
Hey, man. Good to be here. This is officially, I've done interviews all around the world, and this is officially my first interview in Hawaii. This is exciting stuff, man.
Of your entire career?
In my entire illustrious, infamous career, I guess.
The one you're building as we speak.
The one we're trying to build, one handshake and album at a time. But no, I'm excited about the gig. It's going to be a lot of fun, and what's not to like? We kick off our U.S. tour in Hawaii. I mean, we should just. That should be the whole tour. Just start and end there and just spend like a couple of months.
I bet you'll learn from that, and in the future you may even do it again.
We may do a residency there, make everybody come to us, do the whole tour right at the theater, and just, do it Vegas style.
I love how you're thinking. What's your personal background with the islands? Have you ever been here?
I've never been. My bass player, who used to play in our band, lived in Maui for many years, and while he was touring with us, and and I always mean to get, I've always meant to take a vacation and go see it, but the issue is of the last 10 years I've never had time to take a vacation, and B, it's I live in LA, and it's really no excuse not to have come. So I'm really happy that it's all worked out on the way back from our Southeast Asian tour, that we're able to stop there for the first time and and not only see it but do a gig. I think that's fun stuff.
And speaking of the gig, for a lot of folks, it's a new name. For other folks who are maybe guitar fans, they've been big into your work for years. Sort of encapsulize if you were to describe your bluesy rocking sound to someone new, what would you say about it?
Well, I think, we're definitely a throwback kind of to the late 60s British blues boom. Think of early Eric Clapton stuff with John Mayall and the Blues Breakers and Free and the Jeff Beck group, stuff like that. And, and some of the stuff, the more recent albums, you got more of an American kind of feel, almost, borderlines on country music and stuff. So if you kind of mix that together and some maybe straight ahead blues, it's kind of what it is. It's not really traditional anything. It's more of a melting pot, so to speak.
And it's been some family nurturing that has brought this melting pot of styles to you, right? Because I was reading, it's not just, it's a few different family members have musical backgrounds, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm a fourth generation musician, and my great grandfather played trumpet, and so did my grandfather, and they both did that professionally back in starting in the 30s and 40s and 50s. My dad, being a hippie kid, product of the late 60s, decided that he wanted to play electric guitar like Leslie West, and I kind of followed in his footsteps. So.
And that's another New York kind of cat too.
Oh yeah, doesn't get more in New York than that. So.
It really doesn't. What was it that brought you that first band, Bloodline? Interesting bunch of cats. Aaron Davis, Miles Davis, his son on drums. Waylon Krieger, that's Robbie Krieger's son on the guitar. That's the Doors. And then singer-bassist Barry Oakley Jr., of course, the late great Barry Oakley from Allman Brothers Band. And then yourself. What was that all about? It's
just one of those kind of things where, they were looking for some kind of vehicle for me. At that point in time, I was like basically just this young, overweight 13-year-old guitar player, but didn't sing, didn't write, so that was they're just going, well, we need to get a band. And we just started, meeting these then kids. They were all 16 and 17, and I think 20 was the oldest at that point. That just happened to, they all knew each other. It's like, Barry grew up with Waylon Krieger, and Waylon Krieger knew Sammy Hagar's son, who then knew, oh yeah, my other friend Aaron, he plays drums. Okay, so cool. What's your last name? Davis. Oh, who's your dad? Miles. Oh, okay. And all of a sudden, and then, record company got involved, and it's like, they thought it was going to be 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 equals,
Sure.
5. I think it was I think it was more of the expectations of the band kind of almost diminished the actual quality of it, and I think diminished the actual band itself, which was a decent Southern rock based blues band, and it was fun for a while. It was fun.
And it fits into the whole, like you just described, the sound of it fits in overall to the journey, you could say, that you've been on. And what a journey. So many different cats, as I was saying. You have the kind of resume, and it's an earned resume. It's great because you've got all these wonderful stories that you earned through working really hard. And one of them would be, I think it's just a really impressive statement for any younger people listening who want to play music. Can you remember the first time that you opened for B.B. King? I read you were 12. Tell me how you accomplished something like that.
May 24th, 1990. And I was booked to do the show and with B.B. King, because at that point I had a band of older musicians, and I was just playing, a set with them, and this promoter said, hey, why don't, this would be really fun. We got this, B.B. King coming to the Lilac Festival. It'd be nice to have Joe open up the show, because it'd be like this young kid, and then the King, and that was all the thought that went into that. And I got to meet him, and he was very intrigued by kind of what I do, and the age of how old I was, and basically, it started now, what should be 23, 24 years I've known him, almost 25 years. So.
What a relationship.
And he's taught me a lot. He's taught me a lot about, the business side of things. He's taught me a lot about the music side of things. And he's taught me how to carry myself. It's like, he's a humble cat, and not only is he the king of the blues, he's one of the nicest guys in the world. And his 87th birthday is coming up next month. So, I mean, God bless him.
No doubt. And all those years of, when you say he taught you stuff, what was it? More things you picked up just by observation, or was it ever like he would say something and you'd say, "BB, tell me more about like how to do that," or was it?
A lot of it's by observation, just watching the guy work, and just watching him carry himself, and it's about the interaction with fans. He's always got time for the fans. He's always very engaging, and loves to meet people and loves to give back, and he's one of those kind of cats that always is interested in seeing a new generation pick it up and take it, albeit he wants it to go further than he took it, and that's a true icon. He's so confident in himself and his own legacy, that he just goes, hey, listen, try to make this better, and get more fans, and make the music go forward. So.
How about you've experienced Buddy Guy up close too? Anything on that same sort of note that's come from that?
The Buddy's the same way almost. It's like Buddy has a different style of playing. Obviously, it's a little more fiery. It's a little more rock. I mean, again, it's like you look back on these times. It's like to really be able to have said you've hung out and done gigs with living icons, of American music is a pretty, it's a pretty big honor, and I'm not the only cat that can say that. There's a lot of us, So.
But I meant, I guess, on the learning aspect, like the way you described, you were very forthright. I learned a lot of stuff from BB. You mentioned what some of that was.
Showmanship from Buddy Guy. I mean, the way he engages, the way he stares down a crowd. It's like he's in complete control of that crowd from the minute he walks on, and he takes people on a journey. It's the dynamics, and it's I learned a lot about dynamics watching Buddy Guy. Really loud and frantic to soft, almost to the point where you can't hear the band, but you're on the edge of your seat, and that's really a good thing. That it's what music lacks sometimes. And and I sound like an old man now, but in my day, the music had dynamics. But in truth be told, it did. I mean, records were much more dynamic. Now everything is just as loud as it can be all the time, from the downbeats to the choruses to the verses. I mean, you just goes, it becomes taxing on the ear after a while. Where if you listen to a Zeppelin record or anything that was done, in the 70s, it's like, it's it's more organic in my opinion. It's not some computer playing. It's actually actual people.
Right. That's a good point on that one. You've your latest record puts you the live record puts you in a historic venue. You also had a historic venue in London where I would say you had a lot of memorable encounters, but the one with Clapton at that Royal Albert Hall gig, I gotta believe ranks high.
Well, yeah, that was a big thing for me. I mean, put me on the map in a lot of sense. It was. I knew that gig was either going to be the beginning of the beginning or the beginning of the end. And luckily it was the beginning of the beginning. Because, we worked very hard to get to that moment. And, if we fell flat on our face or if it was like, oh yeah, well, he got his shot and it never materialized after that, but the fact that Eric was nice enough to come down and sit in for a tune was something that I'll never forget. I'll never, ever, ever forget.
You're a lucky cat with that one. In 2006, was it the fact that you were doing the You and Me record that got Jason Bonham into your life?
Yes, actually, Kevin Shirley got Jason Bonham into my life, he played on the You and Me record, which was fantastic. He's a fantastic drummer, one of my favorite people and drummers, and he's just a one of a kind drummer. And he gets a lot of credit. He doesn't get enough credit. I don't think he gets enough credit for how fantastically versatile of a drummer he is. He can play anything, but he can also play the family style very much so. You could tell he's a Bonham. But then he'll rip out some Chester Thompson like a Genesis beat or, whatever. He's just very versatile.
Talk about how Black Country Communion got together and what sort of outlet it is for you on that note of Jason.
It's a thing, with a rock band. We've always had this, rock tendencies in my music, but this one here is unabashed, and it's like a real, what a fun band it is. It's been 3 records and a tour, and in 3 years, it's great, and it's one of those things where you go, it's a fun project to be involved in.
When's the next thing going to happen with that?
Well, we have a record coming out in October. And that'll be the third. I call it BCC 3, but the rest of them call it Afterglow. But to me, it will always be called 3.
That'll be fun. Well, I've seen him many times. I've interviewed him, had him on the show. He's one of my very favorite drummers. I got to see him fill in for his pop in 2007 at the O2.
Yep.
And were you at that as well?
No, I wasn't. No.
Okay. Yeah, that was, so you're right. No, his style is, and he doesn't get enough credit for it. He really doesn't.
Yeah.
And as a final sort of note, when we think about your future as you sort of evolved it, and you mentioned there's been this theme, we've talked about it. You mentioned it yourself. You're influenced by this classic rock, the blues. You've done it through your career in different sorts of ways, but yet you're real open to trying new things. When you think about this next step of your life, is there any kind of new project or departure?
Well, I just finished a project. We're almost done with it. It's been doing this thing off and on. I have kind of been participating in it. They've been doing it longer than that. We do this thing called Rock Candy Funk Party, and it's an excuse to get together, play adult chords, and we get together at this place called the Baked Potato, which is an iconic jazz club here in Los Angeles. And so my drummer Tal Bergman. We said, well, what happens if we tried to make a record, And I literally, over the summer break, it took about 12 days, and we had a killer cast of musicians and just made an all-instrumental record, and it'll probably come out eventually as Rock Candy Funk Party, and most people won't even recognize my playing on it. But, it's stuff like that keeps my day job, quote-unquote, fresh and interesting. If all I did was just play slow gin, to me it would be very narrowing, of a musical life, because you're just going, okay, it's just the song that everybody wants to hear at the concert, But the fact that you can have outlets for your different forms of music that you've woodshedded over the years is always very valuable to me. And so we did the Rock Candy Funk Party thing literally a month and a half after I finished the third BCC album, and it's none of it has anything to do with the other. Plus, we did a solo record this year that has nothing to do with anything else either. So at the end of the day, you just go, this has been, it's been a great journey and a great, I'm in a very fortunate position to be able to play all these styles of music in a professional setting. So.
When you're here, perhaps if you have any extra time in Honolulu, we'd love to invite you down. We have a wonderful studio, HPR Atherton Performing Arts Studio. Maybe you play a little thing and do a follow-up interview if there's any time. We'd love to do it.
Well, I'd love to participate, and again, we're just very excited about the gig, and what a way to start the American tour. We can't beat it.
I hope we're grateful you included us, Joe.
I'm grateful to be included, and I heard the ticket sales are doing pretty good, so I'm grateful that anybody's even heard of my name in Hawaii. So if we can make a good showing in Honolulu, I'd be like, hey, we should make this a regular stop. What's not to like? So
well, I'm going to do my part, and I hope you had fun today. Thank you for doing this.
Cheers, Dave. I appreciate it.